It's that part of the summer again. The nights start to get a little bit cooler and your hydrangeas are starting to change color on the plant. This is the most magical time of hydrangea season. I love to watch those blooms transition from white to pink, from light colors to green, and my favorite are the macrophylla when they start going from that deep blue to an almost rusty red on one side and a light aquamarine blue on the other side. Truly magical. You can take the flowers that are already on your plants and put them together in a wreath really simply. Here's what you need. You need a wreath form. This is a wire wreath form. It's 18 inches. Any wreath form will do. Pick one that's right for the size of your project. You also need floral wire and something to cut your floral wire with. And then of course you need hydrangeas. I'm using the best of the best from my yard. These are Annabelle hydrangeas. They're a smooth hydrangea. These are quick fire hydrangeas. They are a panicle hydrangea. And these are endless summer. These are a macrophylla hydrangea. All of these bring a different beautiful color palette. Here are my 3 tips for success. Number 1, cut yourself a couple pieces of wire to start out with. When you kind of get your flowers arranging at the beginning, they need wire to be supported in your frame. You want to make sure you have wire ready to go, because if you're trying to maneuver and cut a piece of wire while holding your flower in place, you're not going to be a happy camper. 2, you should pick flowers that are already 90% of the way dry. What do I mean by that? You'll note that these Annabelle hydrangeas used to be that bright creamy white. Now they're starting to turn that beautiful lime green color. Hear that? They're crispy. They're almost dry on the plant. Same goes for these quick fires. Same goes for these endless summers. And my 3rd tip, pick a longer stem on your flowers if possible. When you give yourself a longer stem, especially with a wire wreath form, you can weave the stem in between the wires so you have much more stability when placing your plant. It also helps you as you move along that you can tuck them in and move them after a bit. So without further ado, let's put together our hydrangea wreath. If you look at the wreath behind me that I put together the other day, I followed a simple pattern. First I placed my Annabelles, then I tucked in my macrophyllas, then I used quick fire as a sort of accent piece. So I'm going to do the same here. It's totally up to you. You can do whatever you like. It's your wreath. So I'm going to start with one of these parts of the wreath frame. I'm going to take a flower that's a little bit flat on one side. I'm coming in like this, and I'm taking that nice long stem like we talked about, and I'm just weaving it around. When I'm pulling it in nice and snug right here. So even without any wire, do you see how that flower is nice and secure on the wreath frame? Because we wove the long stem in. Like that. Now I can move on and place a few more of my flowers. I'm going to place a macrophylla next. Another thing that's helpful is when you're placing your flowers, try to put flowers that are of similar size together, and you save larger flowers for an accent piece. Weave it in like this. And then nice and secure. Then I'll take in a quick fire and weave that in like this. As you go, you want to just move your flowers, adjust them, make sure you're getting the right kind of coverage that you want over the wire frame. You obviously don't want to see the frame sticking out, and you want to make sure you don't have a ton of flowers that are focused more inward so that you have a wonky shape to your wreath. You really want a nice circular shape to it. Okay, and then that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to follow this pattern all the way around, carefully weaving these in, and if the stem's not long enough or I can't get the weave just right, I will use floral wire to secure it. This guy, the stem broke, so perfect reason for floral wire to come into play. Place this where you want it. Then pre-cut floral wire. Come in to secure it. And now that puppy is nice and secure. So I'm putting this one under the stems, then I'm coming up with the stems, up and under with this, like that. Extra stability. When you're done putting the wreath together, if you have any stems that are sticking out, you can of course cut them, but I leave them long as I'm working because I think it just helps me as I'm weaving the next pieces along. Another tip is when you're putting this together, if you're not sure what size flowers you need and you're not sure how many flowers you need, you can always lay your wire wreath form out and then cut a few flowers and tentatively place them around, and then you can sort of guess how many of each size of flower you might need. I like to just wing it, but you can always pre-plan out exactly which flower will go next to which flower. It comes together pretty quickly once you get to this point, especially when you have down which flowers are going next to which. I like this blend of colors, but I think it would be really pretty if someone had a pufferfish hydrangea to do those big fluffy white ones all around. Okay, when you get towards the end, it can be a little harder to weave your stems. You can just leave them up and loose because we can trim them at the end. When your flowers are freshly picked, the wood hasn't dried on them yet, so you can bend them and manipulate them as you need to fill in your wreath. There you have it. Very minimal need for floral wire, though we did need to do it a couple times where the stem broke. But look at this, nice and secure. Look at how pretty this is. We have all the beautiful tones of the hydrangeas as the summer starts to come to a close, captured in this one wreath. Beautiful, soft, muted pastel tones. Perfect for a wreath on your door going through the fall season. Frequently asked questions. Should I spray this with hairspray to help hold the color? You can spray it with hairspray. I find it doesn't really make a difference in terms of how long it holds the color, but if you have it, go for it. 2, are they always going to stay this color? No. Unfortunately, all hydrangeas, regardless of variety, will turn to a golden papery brown color. After about 8 months or so, they start to really lose their color. Some of them will fade faster than others. For example, these are already on their way because they're that light lime color. They will turn brown a little bit faster than some of these that have a little bit more color to them. But in the end, this whole wreath after a year will be brown. How long will this wreath last? A very long time. Dried hydrangeas last a long time if taken care of. Keep them out of direct sunlight if possible. Try to protect them if there's a heavy wind event and it's sitting out on your front door. Otherwise, these guys will last you a really long time. I'm Bethy. I'm the owner of Blue Acre Garden. I hope you enjoyed this hydrangea craft. Learn more about taking care of your hydrangeas and other plants in your yard at Blue Acre Garden on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and my website, www.blueacregarden.com.